Whoever is new at this stage, welcome here at the Know-How stage. We're now going to talk about branding. Brands are a very, very important thing, especially in this time where the world gets louder and louder. Brands are the things that we feel like we can trust, and so building a brand is a huge success factor. And this is what our next crowd here on stage, our panel, will talk about. We have Marie Fabiunke. She's the founder of Cosmyc Partners. They do reputation as a service for customers like Vorwerk Ventures, Softer, or Gorillas. They have a huge list of successful customers. Then there is Julia Rappen, platform manager at Neoteq Ventures, Andreas Winter Extra, partner at Compass VC, and Philipp Blankenagel, VP Marketing and Communications at Recap. And they are going to discuss PR do's and don'ts for founders and investors. Build your brand or die trying. Please warmly welcome our panel.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our session. Welcome, my dear panelists. Super happy to see everyone here with this amazing background, so super cool. Yeah, as you said, Annalena, the session today is about build your brand or die trying. Why today, more than ever, it's important to have a profile and a presence out there in the market. So I'm happy to have with me both investors and people that do comms for both the startup side and the investor side. So really very much looking forward to that. Maybe just very briefly, one sentence that each of one could share about themselves, like who you are and what you do, and what is your connection to branding.
Happy to. Hi, I'm Philipp. I'm leading comms and marketing at Recap. We're a fintech, so I'm representing the startup side here, but I've also worked on the VC side. I've been leading the marketing team since 4 years, since the beginning, so building up the team from the early stage side. And as we're in fintech, brand trust is a super important element for us. So happy to be talking about it.
Yeah, hi, I'm Julia. I'm working for neoteq Ventures. I'm the platform manager. I'm quite new in the VC game. I just started beginning this year. Beforehand, I have background in art. I actually studied art and business at WHU. And so I'm combining both of these fields now at neoteq.
Yeah, Andreas Winter Extra. I'm partner at Compass VC. We're an early stage fund investing in manufacturing, supply chain, and the built environment, so everything around us. And I'm running the Berlin office, one of 3 partners.
Cool, thank you so much. Let's jump right in. Maybe let's start with you, Andreas. You're looking at so many startups every year, and obviously you do like your due diligence, you're looking at different aspects. And how much do you care as an investor if a startup is able to build a strong brand? Either they're already doing it, or will they be able to do that? Like how much as an investor do you think the startup to build a brand and a profile in their market is something that matters to you as an investor?
I mean, a brand is basically just a proxy for reputation. And you start from day one. Every time you post, every time you go out, you present, you do something. And as an investor, I want consistency. I want, if I give you money for the next couple of years, which then I lose control over because I'm handing the money over to you, and I have very limited rights. I want to do this, or I wanted to hand it to people who deliver consistently, and where I do not expect people to swerve wildly, go on wild benders, post in the middle of the night about their heartbreak. Yes, it's tough, but fundamentally, a brand is built over years, a reputation is built over years, and it's lost in seconds. So having someone who can consistently execute on that one is important, and we look for people who are genuine, consistent, and talk about the right things.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think you already mentioned so many important aspects, like either you build a brand unconsciously because everything you do contributes to your brand, or you're being conscious and strategic about it from the beginning. And then you also said like how it takes time to build it, and at the same time it can also slip within 1 second if you're not kind of smart enough about it. So thank you for sharing that. Really cool. And then maybe Philipp, from your side, I know you've been working on the VC, but also on the startup side. And now you work for Recap, which is like a high-growth fintech company. Maybe can you share a bit, like, for either Recap or another company that you've worked for, how much has building a brand contributed to your growth journey? How important brand building is for growth, but also for growth in many ways, also for fundraising, but growth in customers?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's super important for many reasons. One is, especially if you start out, you're new, probably people might not know you. There might be companies in the market which are competitors to you and so on. And for me, the goal is always to be kind of like the top of mind company, right? You want to be the brand people think of when they are looking for a certain kind of product. But that takes a lot of time, so you got to start early on. And 100% with Andreas here, I think every touch point someone has with your brand is kind of like building up your reputation. So it's not only the visual brand on your website, it's not only the communication you do, it's, in our case, we're a B2B company, it's a lot about the interactions people have with our team, for example. So really trying to think of that as the strategic element which connects basically every touch point someone has with you. It makes up your brand. And for us, I think it helped a lot to win clients early on. So you have that, if you are the top of mind brand, it gives you a certain kind of trust, it gives you a certain kind of premium, so people are willing to pay extra. It also helps you with fundraising, obviously, because, I mean, you said people want to invest in companies which have a consistent brand, but they also want to invest, I think, in a brand which is considered to be the top of mind, the premium brand, the category leader. So I think with every strategic stakeholder you have, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. And I think you said two very important things here. One is brand is something that is holistic. It is not only your logo. It is not like what your website looks like. It's how you show up, how you communicate. Like the brand is all the touch points that you create and how that is being perceived by your audiences. And another thing also said, like, you have to start early, right? You have to be conscious about it right from the start. And maybe that brings me also to you, Julia. I know you just said you joined the firm rather recently, and also it's a rather young firm. So you have not been around for decades and have not kind of a brand that is very old. So maybe from that perspective and from your role, when you took on the role, like in the earlier stages of building an investor brand, what do you think are the things that matter the most? Like, what changes the needle at the beginning? What are the first things that you were tackling when you took over that role?
Yeah, I think the most important part is to think about what you want to represent, how you want to be seen. In the VC bubble, you have a lot of players, and then you want to maybe do things a little different, but still not lose to be professional. So we are going for a rather approachable way, and we are really going into different areas, maybe going for different events and starting new ideas, going for different ways, but still short trust is the most important thing. So we are always trying to build the trust. So people come to us when they are looking for funding. So it's always, we always think of how can we go new ways, but still keep up with like being trustful. Yeah. Not too playful, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think you said something earlier, Philipp, on like how presence is important, like to be top of mind. So that's the first part of building a brand. First, people need to know you exist. And then you just said the profile. So I think like the presence and the profile, this is something that always builds your brand, and how to find that balance. Maybe just a follow-up question to you, Philipp, because you just said like how you've been building the presence of Recap and the profile. Has there been like that one thing where you think this has been the absolute game changer for us? Like, or maybe two things, but like this brand initiative, this PR campaign, this one move has given us such a push, and what's the secret sauce here?
not sure it's a secret sauce, and I hate to say it a little bit because it's so obvious, but obviously every time we did a funding round, we did a funding announcement, it was a huge game changer. It's so boring in a way because we all know that this is kind of like what works in the PR game. It's the obvious one, but if you play it right, it has a huge potential for you. And I think what's always important to me is the funding round is not about the numbers, it's not about that you get money, but it should be your platform to tell your story. So this is the biggest opportunity you have as a founder to really put your story out there and use it wisely and use it kind of like as a platform to tell the story you want to tell. And we did the same thing. So, I mean, as I said, we work in fintech, so numbers, financials play a huge role. And we also did a couple of other, you could say, financial communications. So this is something which always works. If you have a big number to share, you get the attention of journalists, and then you have kind of like an open door to communicate it. So I think if we talk about really singular events which had a big impact, this is it probably.
Like the big milestone announcement that you play well and make the most of it, really.
Yeah, 100%, because you also use it to share some numbers, to share what has happened since the last funding round, so the big milestones, the big updates, and it's really a good kind of like touch point to evolve the story of your company and your brand. Yeah,
no, I think you're totally right. Sometimes, as you say, it seems boring, like yes, another funding round announcement, but at the same time, these are the milestones that you have as a startup, right? So might as well make the most of it.
No, fundamentally, so it's not boring. So because funding rounds, it's sort of like a startup that doesn't do funding rounds at one point ceases to exist. So I also find it quite exciting. Sort of like, okay, there are people who believe enough in the vision to give you another 1 million, 2, 5, 10. And so that is sort of a signal for me to the market, basically, that there is actually a product behind this. There's something there that people are betting money on. And as VCs, we are investing our own money to a large extent. So you need to convince people, and it's inherently sort of like a good signal. And it's also one that you can leverage then to your customers, can show sort of like, hey, we have enough money to survive the next couple of years, and so on. And your investors can help you actually sort of also in multiplying this one, because suddenly you're not alone in this. But as a VC, we have PR agencies, we have our own PR people, and we have pretty good contacts actually, so to a lot of media outlets.
I just meant the answer is boring. Yeah. Getting funding is not boring. Yeah.
No, but yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Andreas. And I was just going to double down on that, because like lots of the PR that you do as a startup, like when you announce your funding round, when you announce your big milestone, you're signaling like to the ecosystem, to potential investors, to talents, to potential clients. So maybe, Andreas, from your perspective as a VC investor, what are the things that make you take a closer look at the company when they announce a funding round? Like, what stands out to you? What are you looking at? Is it numbers? Is it a unique angle? Is it the people?
For us, it's usually funding. The announcement of a funding round, while sort of like in itself sort of is this display of, okay, there's someone there that has gotten money, someone else is believing in this one, triggers basically us to put things on a watch list. And that happens through sort of either us reading about it, or then now increasingly also through databases. So you get picked up by PitchBook, you get picked up by Harmonic, by all the databases where all the investors are subscribed to and they are following and they do their market maps. You get picked up there with the sort of the announcements. They do not have a secret channel that we tell them sort of, hey, we have invested in this one, but basically you need to be present somewhere. And then what we're looking for is basically, okay, who's invested, what is the company doing, and then we sort of try to estimate the timeline when to reach out.
So it's an important signal and communication that you're looking at. I would totally...
It's often it's sort of the only thing that you get sort of when you Google a startup. You get the website, and then you get sort of like 2 or 3 funding announcements, and that's the only thing that you can find. And so it's important to get these right.
Yeah, I totally agree. Julia, you want to add something?
No.
Good. Maybe just, so we've just said like funding rounds is a big moment of doing good or bad PR, so it's something that you want to get right. Another aspect that I wanted to mention here is that a brand of a company is also obviously like the brand of the people. So personal branding is a big thing, both for startups and their founders, but also for investors. But it's also a fine line. So my question would be like, with LinkedIn being such an important communication channel, if we like it or not. So my question would be, whoever wants to go first, what makes a strong personal brand for you that stands out, that is cool and relevant, and that is not cringe? Because it can be a fine line. So I'm interested to hear your perspective and also how you go about it to build personal brands for your partners, for your founders.
Yeah. I think the most important part, as you already said, that it's not feeling cringe, is that it's natural in a way. So if you don't feel like you want to really go out, don't do it. Because then it mostly feels cringe.
If in doubt, don't.
Yeah. Maybe you...
No, I just wanted to add that I think especially now with AI-generated content being everywhere, and it's kind of like every content you read now on LinkedIn, you are debating if it's authentic or not, it becomes even more important. So I would definitely second that. And I think especially when we look at digital comms, at LinkedIn, for example, I have a little bit of a question mark and a little bit of a doubt about the future of it, because I think people will... I have a feeling they might get sick of it rather sooner than later, right? Because it's getting so bombarded now, and it's really difficult to kind of like read something interesting, genuine. We see people spending less and less time on social media, so you have to do it really well. It has to be authentic, and I haven't found an answer yet, but it has to be in a way that people understand. Okay, this is proper human content and not AI generated.
Yeah, and at the same time, don't post about heartbreaks, as you already said. And that's also a fine line. I mean, sharing personal stuff, but still being professional.
Yeah.
And I think some are doing a good job, and sometimes it's maybe then being more quiet can also be good.
Andreas, you have anything to add? No?
LinkedIn is the worst. Sorry. What is actually a good idea? So it's deteriorated basically because everyone felt the need to shout, and there are so many forced postings where you see sort of like what having athlete's foot taught me about B2B sales or something, and it's really, really hard. I curate my feed, trying to see sort of like who are people who post sort of relevant things for me, and who do not sort of abuse the trust that I put in them by following them. So if people start spamming my feed, then they are very quickly out.
Yeah. No, I would completely agree that LinkedIn has become more noisy, and at the same time, if we like it or not, it's such an important communication channel for the tech and startup and VC industry, so it has become harder and harder to do it well. Yeah, absolutely. So maybe to build on that, like we discussed LinkedIn, we discussed funding announcement, we just said like AI changes a lot the way we do PR and comms. At the same time, another aspect is that the European media ecosystem is shifting a lot. There's basically no more TechCrunch Europe. Lots of kind of publishing houses kind of have smaller editorial teams. So what would you consider a PR win today? Like, I think even a year ago, like the biggest PR win was the TechCrunch story, right? So that was like the big goal. Now things have changed a lot. So, and I think it's a big question mark. What is great PR? What is the PR win today? How have you maybe Philipp, do you have a definition for yourself, since you're running PR for a important fintech? What's a PR win for you?
Yeah, it's still that one top tier article in a great news outlet which transports your message. So not only the brand of the news outlet, but also obviously what is written in it. So I would still say this hasn't changed, even though, as you said, it's becoming harder and harder. Many like news outlets getting smaller, going out of business. We see stories of journalists switching sides on a daily basis, so makes it even more important, I would say. And of course, the bigger you get as a company, the bigger or the more reputable you try to aim for when it comes to the news outlet, right? So the first funding round, you're super ecstatic if it's, you know, a Sifted or a TechCrunch. At some point, you might want to get into Bloomberg or the FT or whatever. So this still becomes like, yeah, if you manage to get that done, it's a huge win.
So tier 1 press article is still an important benchmark. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so too. But also, if you have a really, for example, for our portfolio companies to stay at the startup side, I think it's also really important if you have a specialized product, for example, in medicine, then maybe the specialized PR is more important than the big news, startup news, and can have a bigger impact on future clients, for example. Yeah.
Very important aspect, yeah, because obviously that one big story is like for a startup, like a tier 1 tech media outlet, is that one North Star. But for, let's say, B2B company in a certain space, it could be a trade media outlet, could be specialized media outlet. And also at Compass, I know you also invest like in, let's say, industrial tech or like more B2B sectors. And then for those startups, it's also important maybe to not have that sifted story, but to have a story in a much more niche publication that kind of is a lot perceived by their customers. Yeah, so I would...
Don't have anything to add there.
Yeah, cool. So actually, we have a bit of time for questions if you have questions. If you don't, we still have a few more minutes to chat. But I was just wondering, does any one of you have questions on PR and brand to any of the panelists?
I would steal one of your microphones for the audience. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Roman. I'm CEO and co-founder of Leverage Immo. I do have a question. How do you measure the performance of a brand, and how do you maybe do the benchmark or compare between companies?
Very, we only have 4 minutes left. Okay. It's always the big question, but let's try and answer that.
It's super difficult from the outside. How we do it is we have a couple of data providers that give us insights into web traffic, followers on X, Twitter, which is becoming more irrelevant here, but also LinkedIn, and see then traction basically. And this is sort of a proxy for us to see sort of like how much are you attracting eyes that look at your content.
Yeah, I would always put the quantitative and the qualitative side together. So, of course, we look a lot at attribution. So, where do leads come from? We always ask that in sales talks as well. Like, how did you hear about us? I think that's like super relevant. And then we understand, you know, did you hear about us in the press? Did you read about us on LinkedIn or whatever? So that gives you one view, and the other view is really talking to your clients, talking to your ICP, your target audience, and understanding like, are you being mentioned in talks with other multipliers, with partners, with investors, etc. And that gives you a very good understanding of, you know, who is being talked about in the market, and are you part of that group or not. So I would always take a look at the digital touch points, but then also speak to your target audience and find out, you know, if you're mentioned there or not.
Any further questions? Okay, so if more questions come to your mind, I'll still be around today. You guys will still be around, so please don't hesitate to reach out. I have one final question to all of you. So maybe just try to stick to one sentence for each one of you. So let's say we have a founder of a startup here in the audience, and they want to start doing PR for their company tomorrow. What is that one advice that you would give them? If you start doing professional PR tomorrow, what do you have to do?
Build relationships with journalists early on, like honest relationships without expectations of getting coverage.
Yeah, I basically wanted to say the same. Yeah, I think the connection and community is the best way to go. More important than social media or anything. Yeah.
Cool. Anything to add, Andreas?
Nothing to add here.
Okay,
It's
super.
all about relationships.
Yeah. Thank you so much. These are already great closing words, but maybe just to kind of sum up the panel, I think it was great to learn from all of you how being present is important, how you build that presence, and holistically through how you communicate through social media with a journalist, and how you show up as a company and as a founder, building trust, being consistent, and then also how to perform well around all the relevant PR milestones that you have, being an important announcement or a funding round. So be consistent, build trust, and build relationship. I think that was super cool to hear from all of you. Thank you all for joining us this morning. And if you want to chat further, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. It was wonderful to listen to you. I saw that you all are Umbrella. So you're all on the event app. In case you want to meet one of those guys, go there. And we will be back in 3 minutes with our next topic, course correction and growth, how startups scale sustainably. See you in some minutes.